This kind of war is definitely not bearish for Wall Street. This is a positive surprise. Lobbing a few missiles at each other. Ground troops are the little bit scarier, but even that's not that bearish. No, you don't buy defense stocks, no. It's definitely what the amateur mind thinks of, but that is not right. Ground troops would be bad. We don't want that. INMB is in the next week, so anytime between now and say 1 week from today. You know what? A lot of people going to biotech investing instead of being a doctor. They find it more rewarding and more profitable. Iranian Review. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 University of Medical Science in Tehran, Iran. Trying to read no Iranian thing, bro. Baker Brothers are great. Yeah, they're pretty good. You a Goodell customer, ASW? AMSC, American Super. These guys have been around forever. But, you know, with all the quantum guys doing superconducting, maybe they'll do well. Probably no vaccine for Alzheimer's. It's not an infectious disease. No, vaccines only really work with infections. Whoa! What's going on with AMGEN? Maritide data. 20% weight loss. It's not that bad. I think they're doing dose adjustments. New England Journal publication. There it is. It's good data. If you titrate, you do fine. So I'd buy AMGEN on the STIP maybe. Discontinuation rate was not that bad. Not much else to say on SLS. I mean, IonQ's nearly up. Insane. What an insane world. I mean, the AMGEN drug is more powerful than Ozempic. 10 billion in revenue to AMGEN. That's doing pretty well. Yeah, that's my stock. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's gonna rally that hard because you see how people shop first and ask questions later. But at the right time, you know, AMGEN could be a buy. I wouldn't rush into it, you know, catch the falling knife, be the first to catch the falling knife. But if you see it start to rally, you can jump on. It looks like it's starting to maybe rally. If it breaks out above 275, you start to buy some. The data's pretty decent. These drugs are notoriously hard to tolerate. I mean, that's a little bit part of how they work. Try buying some AMGEN. Let's see. We'll try it. I'll try it. Fucking IonQ's green. Unbelievable. Okay, there goes AMGEN, of course. Oh man, RGC down 43%. Wow. HIMS down 30%. UBT down 9%. CoreWeave bounced back a little bit, right? Body margin call coming. Body. Yeah, there's definitely a chance defense. Definitely. What'd I say? Don't rush to catch the falling knife. Yeah, a couple days like this, quantum will be dead. But I feel like there's, you know, this constant. I mean, it's my theory of momentum. Is that momentum needs to have a continuation and ideally even a positive second derivative because people will get bored. And quantum's kind of been the same price for a while, so I think it's going to die. The only difference is QUBT. Look at Rigetti. Rigetti's almost single digits again. Yeah, I like AMGEN. I bought a little bit. Compass is down because of they met the primary endpoint. I mean, I think they're down because the data was not that exciting. Oh, I think Immune drops to like, 50 cents or something. I think that they may even go bankrupt. They're going to have to do a financing, keep things going. The only thing that's gone well for quantum in the last 3 months is QUBT. Everything else is kind of flat. I mean, D-Wave as well, but D-Wave's come back pretty hard. I don't know, I think some bag holders may be long. It's not even clear if the drug gets in the brain, let alone reduces anything in the brain, and it's not clear if reducing something in the brain does anything. Yeah, I think the street wanted more out of Compass. I think it's 100% Felix, but we don't know. I mean, the company reserves the right to change their mind, right? And they couldn't decide we're gonna take more time to analyze the data, but that would not be a good sign. I think that would go over too great. Yeah, but they have a very specific, very specific timeline. Nice recovery in the market, up 1%. HIMS is a pharmacy, right? It's not a pharmaceutical company. It's very different. I'm dying. It'll make medicine, right? Right, so they're not in the same industry. They're like fundamentally different industries. One is a manufacturer, one is a producer. I don't know if you realize how much market share HIMS has in pharmacy. I hate to tell you this. Do you know how much revenue the U.S. pharmaceutical industry does? And you might want to look it up. HIMS isn't exactly a major player quite yet. I don't see what difference it would make to pharma who distributes their product. Right now, HIMS might get to 1% market share in 2030. Right now, there's 0.5% market share. Not even HIMS management thinks they're gonna be 2 or 3% market share soon. So I think you're just off here. You know, you're conflating two things. Walgreens did not go bankrupt at all. It doesn't matter who pharma sells their drugs through. That's not competition. That's supplier, distributor. Pharma's a supplier to distributors. The distributors sell the product to the end user. It doesn't make a difference. Who does that? It's a low margin business. Well, distributing drugs is a low margin business. HIMS tries not to be in that business. HIMS tries to be in some weird other business where they buy generics and mark them up at high prices. That's not really what the business pharma's in. I mean, I think you need to go do some research on the pharma industry. Drug distribution is low margin. HIMS isn't really doing drug distribution. They're doing some weird, bizarre thing. They're taking drugs that are a couple dollars and charging $20 for them. Now, I'm sure that is a great business to be in for a couple of drugs, but it's going to be hard to do that for all the drugs. I don't think that's going to be too easy. That's why Walgreens has such low margins. Now, if everyone's going to get all their drugs from HIMS, that's fantastic, but I don't know if they're going to get them at a great margin like that. That would bankrupt America. HIMS would be the biggest company ever existed. I asked Marie, but they manufacture them. They have intellectual property. That's why they make all the... 503B isn't exactly... it's a little tough to scale that business. You really can't get around the FDA. I sold all our HIMS and went short at 60. I covered it when it went back down, but not good news. It's a good company, but they have to get through this, obviously. I don't know if they can grow globally or not. Yeah, retail pharmacy has definitely a problem with theft. It's already a low margin business. Online pharmacy is pretty competitive. HIMS differentiates itself by selling, certain kinds of products, mostly vanity related. I don't see the rush on HIMS. I mean, there's a lot about this business we don't know. I like to swing at the fat pitches when I know the risk reward is pretty good for me. Right now, I don't know what's happening with that business. We just got a 30% change. I work on it every now and then, Marie. I had a little work on it this weekend. It's not just quantum. I spend a lot of time on there. It's a crypto. It's more crypto hack than quantum hack, but it's a couple different things. What makes a good trader? I think it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. Some traders want no drawdowns. Some traders want amazingly high returns. You can't have it all. Yeah, I mean, I think you do call. Yeah, I mean, I could easily see it fade on this data too, I mean, if it was really bad, you wouldn't host a call. So there's some Bayesian, it's probably not really bad. That's true too, meme. Although did 𝗧𝗪 had the data kind of a different way, right? It wasn't exactly how 𝗧𝗪 created or did their data. I think you're right about that. Causality is somewhat independent from just past patterns. No, I am not buying the HIMS dip.
Shkreli, have you checked out Spotify at all?
Not a little bit.
They're showing some pretty nice numbers for 2024. They're showing profitability, which is pretty impressive.
That's why it's pretty expensive.
Yeah, I think it's a 116 PE ratio, but I don't really pay attention to that because I'm watching the multiples kind of collapse a little bit, and I think it's going to continue to collapse. I don't really follow Peter Thiel much.
What you're saying, but okay.
The price multiples, they're collapsing. They're getting really small.
PE
not really getting small, but...
Are you talking about PE?
No, price to net income, price to free cash flow.
That's what PE is, yes.
Yeah, and I don't know, I think it's really good. I really like their product. They have a lot of user growth, and they're expanding their net income really well.
It does seem like the market understands that pretty well. It's 150 billion market cap.
I know it's a hot take, but I think it's still undervalued.
Okay.
Because I could only see it continue to grow, even in 2022 when everything kind of took a little dump and
let's see,
things kind of slowed down.
150 billion market cap. That means I don't know what they maybe have addressable market of $1 billion. Spotify's relationship with everyone is worth $100 some odd, basically. That seems overvalued to me because ultimately they do have to pass through almost everything they get has to go to the artist. So I don't know.
They still have nice margins. I mean, their gross margin is around 30%. It's continuing to grow.
Yeah, 30%, you know, if it grows much more, you know, you're going to get artists that say, wait a second, I don't need Spotify. I don't want Spotify. I'm going to do this myself. So their margins have a natural cap where Spotify is, if they artist enough, the artist is going to say, 30% of my money is going to some guy in Sweden.
Yeah, that can happen as well. I mean, I completely agree. But their operating leverage is also really good. I mean, 2024 kind of proves that. Their expenses dropped and their revenues, you know, went 18%. That's pretty impressive. Also, their premium is the highest margin sector because, you know, they make money on ads and they also make money on premium subscriptions. And nobody listens to Spotify without premium. I mean, I don't really know anybody who doesn't have a Spotify subscription. Apple Music's good too, but everybody has this app and they use it basically every day.
You guys will learn about complexity, automata, computing. 1 for sorrow, 2 for mirth, 3 for a wedding, 4 for birth. Our story commences with the study of finite state automata. You guys know what that is, FSA? Sure. Computational models that are quite restricted, that each automaton can only use a bounded amount of memory and process an input string by reading it once from left to right. These are models of computers. They'll provide our first exposure to non-determinism, a concept that is at the heart of the P versus NP question. There are applications like text searching and parsing, sometimes called regular expressions. So, what is a deterministic finite automata? It's the first computer we're going to study, the deterministic finite automaton, the DFA. There's going to be a finite set of states, okay? This is the only memory that these things have. So we're going to start with a state or states. You hear that word a lot in programming. It's very important. One of the states is the start state. What else? We're going to sort of take an input, which we'll call the input string, and the DFA is going to process it. And I'd rather you learn programming a little bit like this than you would learn it writing Python. Although you should do that too. Sipser's book's probably better than this one. I guess we'll call this, they want to use this term, transition function. Finally, we get the accept state or reject state. You can see it's like a fairly clear picture of computation, but we're going to get into a little more detail, and you can see exactly what these look like. And you can understand them pretty easily. This is not Sipser. Okay, so Q, there's a 5 tuple here. So this is a mathematical way to think about this. It's sort of this 5 tuple. So we've got Q, sigma, S, T, oops, and delta. It's a little cherry. Okay. So this is the state set. Q is the state set, or states, that the machine can take, or the automaton can take. This is the input alphabet, which we'll talk about, basically what's legal to input into the machine. S is the start state, and it's a member of Q, obviously. So it exists in Q. That's why it's lowercase. T is a subset of Q. These are the accept states, and maybe appropriately delta is a transition function. So let's look at some examples. Let's say we have a Q with 3 states, 0, 1, and 2. And the input alphabet is binary. It's A or B. Okay, so let's look at the way this works. And then we can think about it more physically. A is 1, and B is 0. We have the transition of 0. 1 and 2 is 1, and 2 and 2 is 2. These are kind of rules, if you will. The input alphabet has to be either A or B. The initial state is 0, and the set of accept states, T, is 2. So let's look at this.
Let's consider the first string. Let's call it BAB. Okay, so what happens when we input this into this machine? Okay, we start at 0. That's kind of where we start. It reads the symbol B, and it makes a transition to 1. It's basically an instruction here. Does that make sense? So because it starts with B, and we're in state 0, because we're just starting, we're going to look up, okay, is it A or B? Well, it's B. And B tells us to go to number 1. State 1. Okay, we're in state 1 now. Now we got to look at A, right? Well, A says, stay in state 1. So go back to state 1. Cool. And then it says B. That was A. Now it says B. Well, B says go to state 2. And that's it. That's a computer. Kind of wild, right? If we want to do this in sort of picture diagram, this is kind of neat. I like this. And it's a lot easier to understand this way, but you have to understand it both ways. But you basically just have a diagram. This is the input into the 0 state. Right? If it's A, we're just going to stay here, right? So if you had a string that was just A, it would never get off of 0, right? It would always stay in the 0 state. All right, so if you get B, we're going to advance to the 1 state. And this should immediately remind you of regex if you've ever done regex. So if we had B up here, it would just skip right to 1. If we put the B over here, it would stay in the 0 for 9 states and then 9 rounds basically, and then go to the next one. And of course we have the same dynamic here where if it's A, we stay right here. And finally, the final state is 2, where it doesn't matter if it's A or B, either one sort of stays at 2. This is a little bit like logic flow or flow control in computer programming. And again, these are really good models for before we get into more complicated things like a Python program or something like that. This is a really good abstract way of thinking about computation. So we accepted this string BAB and it ended in 2. And we can make more and more complex machines. This is a pretty short book. It's only 99 pages, and I believe it's free. But it's probably going to go through things pretty quickly here. It's a bunch of logic. I see there's NFA, which is non-deterministic finite automata. This stuff is a lot of fun if you've never seen it before. It's not really taught unless you go get a computer science degree. But more and more of this stuff is very important. This is also something Mrs. Shkreli is an expert at. Less so Mr. Shkreli. But maybe this book is cut off. Might be cut off. The best book, yeah, wifey will be on stream someday. She doesn't mind. The best book for this is 𝗬𝗅. This is 𝗬𝗅's 2013 Introduction to the Theory of Computation. This one's 482 pages. It's the MIT standard. And yes, Miss Shkreli taught with 𝗬𝗅 at MIT. I'm so proud of her. When I heard that, I fell in love. I said, oh, I know this is the lady for me. I'm serious. And it also starts off with automata. This is 𝗬𝗅's book. Miss Shkreli is smarter than Mr. Shkreli. We begin with an overview of those areas in the theory of computation that we present in this course. Following that, you'll have a chance to learn or review some mathematical concepts you will need later. So this is chapter 0, automata, computability, and complexity. This book focuses on 3 traditionally central areas in computation: automata, computability, and complexity. They are linked by this one question, and this is so important in quantum. What are the fundamental capabilities and limitations of computers? Right? Anybody trading quantum should have read this book. And you see those check marks? That means I read it. Okay? What are the fundamental capabilities and limitations of computers? The question goes back to the 1930s when mathematical logicians like Gödel first began to explore the meaning of computation. Technological advances since that have greatly increased our ability to compute, and have brought this question out of the realm of theory into the world of practical concern. In each of these three areas, automata, computability, and complexity, this question is interpreted differently, and the answers vary according to the interpretation. Following this introductory chapter, we explore each area in a separate part of the book. I think you can watch Ipser's lectures too, right? Let's look. Oh, snap. Yeah, why did you don't have to watch it with me? Watch it from this dude. 3 years ago.